right, welcome back to Protect You Radio, and I've got the usual hooligans with me. I know you got to take a break from all of us together. We did a favor for Amanda Suffolk and Rob Campbell. They were going to be out of town, so I went in and did some recording with them. So that's what you heard last week. But we've got the crew back together this week. It makes me so happy.
Woohoo! The crew is back. Woohoo!
All right.
Outstanding. Mr. Travis, what's going on? You doing all right?
Oh, everything's fine, man. Everything's fine. I'm glad to be back with my favorite ladies, including you, John.
I better be your favorite lady. I'm in touch with my feminine side. It's okay. And I did not say I touched my feminine side, Travis. Stop it. Marion, what's going on with you?
Not a whole lot. I was off last week, but I was busy. I did get to do some shooting down at I think it's Great American Shooting Range down in Canton.
Oh.
That was fun.
Never heard of that.
Yeah, it's down in Canton, Maslin.
I've heard of it. Okay. I've never been there.
Yeah, it's all right. It's it's
incredibly
they hardly have
average.
any guns. Ammo, you could only 9mm. You could only get a box.
Yeah.
And it was that wolf stuff.
Well, they're right in line with everyone else, I think.
Yep.
That's crazy. Miss Katie, it sounds like you've been having some fun and did a little travel recently.
I did a trip to Detroit, Michigan to help with a training there. It's a very ambitious and really cool training that's led by a gentleman named Rick Ector. And his desire, he give you a little background. Rick saw a news story on TV a number of years ago where a woman had been kidnapped, sexually assaulted, and her body was dumped in a field. And that just hit him to the core. And he was thinking to himself, what if that lady had had a gun? What if she had been armed and able to defend herself? This probably would have been a totally different story. So he has taken it upon himself to provide for free to women in the Detroit area a free shooting lesson. And literally he provides the firearms that they use.
Wow.
He provides the ammunition, the targets, the eyes and ears, everything. All the women have to do is sign up and show up. So we had a goal to train 1,500 women this year because the goal has gone up every year. We had the goal to train 1,500. We ended up training almost 2,000.
Jeez, that's awesome.
They were out the door, up the sidewalk, up the block, waiting to come in. These were women who were so hungry to learn how to shoot a firearm.
That's beautiful.
And it was just amazing because these were women with children, women whose husbands were in jail, so they felt like they were defenseless at home. We had victims of domestic violence. As a matter of fact, one lady that I trained, after she was done with her shooting lesson, she just started crying. And I'm thinking, okay, the gun scared her or something like that. And she told me that she had just gotten out of a domestic violence situation. And one of the threats that the man would use against her was he would stick a gun against her head, or he would put the barrel in her mouth and tell her that he was going to blow her away. And because of that, she was terrified of guns, terrified. So once she finally got this loser out of her life, she's like, you know what? I've got to get rid of this last bit of control that he has over me. So that was her thing, to come there, to confront the fear head on.
Wow.
And I feel so blessed that the Lord made sure that I got her.
That's
Because
mad
I
mad
loved
respect.
on that woman. I loved on her.
Wow.
And that babe, she learned how to shoot. She learned how to shoot very well. I was very, very proud of her. But there were Black women, there were whites, there were Hispanics, there were Asian, there were Muslim women there.
Huh.
There were women of all shapes and colors. And another cool thing that my kids told me about, because Abby and Michael went with me, Michael was like, Mom, I really think they're overhyping all this racial division.
You
And I
think?
said, why do you say that? And he said, because I watched a woman wearing a BLM face mask talking with another woman who was wearing a Make America Great face mask.
Wow.
Very astute,
Wow.
young man. Very astute.
Yes. Because he was just like, but wait a minute, aren't they supposed to be kicking and fighting and shooting each other? Because they hate each other. And
Right.
Yeah.
he's like, no, Mom, they were talking, they were laughing, they made friends standing in line. So all this crap that they're feeding us about all this racial division, and
Yeah.
it's ridiculous, just absolutely ridiculous. But that weekend was amazing. And here's another one. I also got the opportunity to train a deaf shooter.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that amazing?
That was so cool. So cool. So do I have time to tell you about that?
Oh, you better believe it.
Oh, cool. Okay. So the shooter was, I would say she was about 13, 14. She was there with her mom, who also wanted a shooting lesson, and she was there with her translator. So I looked at the translator and I said, okay, how do you want me to do this? And she said, just talk to her like normal, and I will talk to her and tell her what you're saying. So just treat her as you would a hearing person. And I go, okay. So that was a little awkward at first, but I got used to it. And then it came to, working on grip and everything. And her grip was off on the gun. And I'm trying to think, okay, do I tell the interpreter to tell her? Do I move her fingers myself? How do I do this? But the cool thing was, before I could even figure out what to do, the interpreter reached forward and corrected her thumb.
Wow.
So I'm like, okay, that could have been a fluke, or that could have been, that mommy thing, because her thumb was in a position that the slide would bite. So I went to go fix something else on her grip, and before I could correct it, the instructor reached forward again, the interpreter reached forward again and corrected her hand. At which point I turned to the interpreter and I said, you're a shooter, aren't you? And she said, yes, I am. I'm actually an instructor, and I'm training to become an instructor for deaf shooters.
Oh, that's
Wow.
so cool.
How cool is that?
Oh, that's neat. Yeah.
Is there a
That was
certification out
pretty
there for that?
awesome. I know, right? I believe there is.
Oh, I'd like to find out. I
it
stumbled through
was
one.
amazing.
That was rough. I did like 8 hours with somebody one time, and it was not the easiest thing in the world. I'm not gonna lie.
No, it is not. I found out something as simple as clapping your hands because they shot well. She didn't understand that. The interpreter showed me I had to wave my hands in the air for her to understand that was me clapping for her.
Yeah, it's a whole different. Again, back to, we've talked about this in the past. You don't know what you don't know sometimes, and
Exactly.
that's a whole different. I don't want to say culture, but it's a whole different learning environment.
Well, I got to tell you, I have never been as exhausted as I was after those 2 days. I mean, I was just exhausted because just think about it. I had to go over the 4-gun rules at least 200 plus times.
Wow. Wow.
Now, the other instructors, from what I heard, they didn't do that. But for me, those are paramount. You've got to drill those into their heads. They've got to know that. So I did that with every woman I trained, and it was a blast. It was so much fun.
I love it because you just spent a weekend taking women who felt powerless, and you equalized them and you empowered them. That's, and anyone who talks about not giving gun rights to people, who can stand and hear a story like that and not say, oh, this is a good thing, then you are a turd. Sorry. But I mean, how do you
language?
Yeah.
How do you deny somebody that ability to? Here's a guy who's putting a gun in your mouth. How do you not feel good about empowering a woman and possibly giving her the ability to defend herself? That's mind-boggling to me.
John, the question is, how do you do that? How does one do that? And any guy that's listening to this podcast that, has done that or think it's cool or laughing, you're a chode. You're an idiot. You're dumbass.
That's subhuman. I'm sorry. That's just, and then again, if you think that's okay to disarm females and take that power away from them, then ooh, here we go. Feel the blood pressure coming up.
I know, right? How do
I'm
you think I felt standing there watching this poor woman crying, and she tells me this story? I'm like, Sweet Pea, you don't ever have to let that happen to you again.
Yep.
You do not. So yay! But it was so much fun. So much fun.
That's awesome. Good for you. So kind of along those lines with new shooters and stuff, one of the things I'm going to talk about this week, and Travis kind of touched on this a few weeks ago, wanting to do some, basic information, if you're newer to guns, because there's so many new gun owners out there. You guys did a rocking job training people. So now they go home, they buy a gun, and one of the things they need to probably think about is, how are they going to store the thing, right? So kind of along these basic things you need to think about storage wise, right? So what brought this on is an article. It wasn't really about storage. I read an article about somebody left their gun safe open and their kid got inside of it and locked himself in.
Oh, jeez.
Not good.
No, and it turned out well. Fire department came, they opened up the safe, got the kid out and all that stuff. But then it made me start thinking about, if you're new to shooting, it makes sense to keep your gun safe closed. But what are the other issues around storage we need to be thinking about? Now, the NRA will, what's the term they use? Keep your guns and ammo stored so they're not accessible to unauthorized users. What's that mean to a new person? How do you, okay, great. Is my coffee can on my counter a good storage option? Maybe. It depends. So how are you guys storing, if you're storing?
Me personally, and you can see I've got storage on my table right here. On the couch in the spare room, it's got it everywhere. But I do have a safe that's there, and that usually holds, the higher grade items. But it also depends on, your home situation. New shooters that are single, they need to have, if they're buying one gun, have a case that can lock or something like that, but you need it accessible, and you need to know who's going to be coming over or something like that. Like if you have a niece, a nephew, a neighbor, like if I've had people here and they're like, hey, can we use your bathroom? Well, hang on a second, and I'll go in the house and look and take the ones off the coffee table, from underneath the coffee table, from in between the towels. I leave one in the shower, but I make sure that, it's a clear avenue all the way through, that I'm not worried if they do it. But it also depends on what kind of weapons you have. I mean, so many people get the cheap high school locker. It's like, come on, I could use a knife and get in that thing. The basics start with education. And, so many people are like, oh, don't worry, just put it in your nightstand. Well,
No.
No.
new shooters should be doing that.
And you're again, this gets to what's your lifestyle, Travis. You're home by yourself. You can be a little more open with your storage as opposed to someone who's got little kids running around or teenagers. And I know everyone's like, hey, I could just throw my stuff on the top of the closet or I can hide it. Kids find stuff. I can't tell you how many Christmas presents I rewrapped over my years. And they were supposed to be out of sight, out of mind. I'd never find them. Right.
Well, the only thing I have to contend with are the voices, and they can't get to the guns.
Depends on the day. Too funny. Ladies, how are you storing stuff?
Well, I've got a safe, good size safe. Actually, all my firearms are in there except for a couple that I leave out around the house. And if family can know where all my guns are, because Ken's got his safes. So
his and her safes, huh?
yeah.
That's awesome.
I was tired of nagging them. So I went and bought my own.
Oh, that's
well
awesome.
done, young lady. That's beautiful. That's like riding your own motorcycle, right? You got to have your own.
Yep.
Miss Candy, how are you storing?
All over the freaking house, man.
That's awesome. So
I'm
now
serious.
you've discussed in the past having kids.
Yep.
And so what are some of the conversations you had with them, and how did you store when they were much younger, and how'd that look?
Well, honestly, like I think I've told you before, I only started shooting about 3 years ago.
Right.
So I didn't have any firearms in the house when my kids were little, and I think that's part of the reason why, because I didn't want to have to deal with that. But now that they're older, all my kids shoot. Every single one of them, all the way down to little Naomi. They all shoot. They all shoot very, very well.
Excellent.
And because I have them involved in all aspects of shooting, the cleaning, the everything, when they see firearms around the house, they don't look twice at them, but they know where every single one is should the crap hit the fan.
Yeah, and I kind of what you guys are all hitting on is some of them are out. So I grew up, there was not a safe to be found in our house. I was like, so, when I started getting into being an instructor and stuff and talking safety with people and having to explain to them, yes, you should always store your guns and ammo so they're not accessible to unauthorized persons. And I wanted to go, do as I say, not as I learned growing up, because my dad had a leather belt and we didn't need a safe. Had I got within 10 feet of those guns without his permission, I would have taken a beating. But that's just me. So it is really important that you store and do it safely. And again, like the NRA tells you, store so that they're not accessible unauthorized users. But there is a balance here, I think. What's the balance between safety and security? And it sounds like everyone's finding a good balance of here's what I know I can leave out. Here's where I know I can leave it. And nobody's going to get to it. And that's awesome. And I think new shooters especially aren't going to have a good understanding of, hey, everyone tells me I need a safe, and a safe like Travis's. I've seen Travis's safe. And Travis, remind me, is it a push button? Is it a dial? How does it, the bigger?
It's digital.
It's digital. So a little bit easier to get into a digital if under stress you remember what the combination is.
Yep.
And I hate to say it at 2 a.m. and you're scared. How easy is that going to be to remember that comm? And again, digital I like a little bit better because I'm guessing Marion and Travis, do both yours light up when you hit the buttons?
Yes.
No, mine does not, which is nice.
So you don't like the light up keypad?
I know exactly where it is, but in a situation like that, I was just counting when you said it. If I'm in the bedroom, I got 100 rounds loaded in weapons there. Before I even get to the safe, I probably got my choice of 15 different weapons. So I don't want to be stuck in a situation where I've got to get to the safe or something, because we've all woken up in the middle of the night freaked out, and your mind isn't working right. You don't function out of a deep sleep, which is usually where you're coming out from. Or hungover.
Yeah, I agree. And in that balance, again, new shooter, somebody tells you need a safe to store your gun, and you go out and you buy a safe that's got like a dial, and it's, let's see, was that 2 left, 3 right, and what was the number? And that can be catastrophic for you if you're newer to this and you haven't practiced it. And I am a huge advocate of, I call them fire drills. If you've got a safe, whatever way you've decided to store that thing, you better figure out, can you do it in the dark is the big one, and can you do it kind of under stress? I'll give you a great example. When the kids were younger, I used to have a small pistol safe I kept on the dresser. I used to do a fire drill, I guess I'd call it. And so I used to do a fire drill with my little pistol safe. And the first time I ran it, I put the flashlight inside the pistol safe. I put the gun inside the pistol safe, and I locked it, turned off the light. I said, go. So I sprung out of bed and I leaped to the safe. I punched the code. I was like, this is going great. I reach in and grab the gun, and I pulled the gun out. So I had a lanyard on the flashlight. The lanyard hooks to the back of the gun, swings out, smacks me right in the face. Bam!
Oh.
Okay, let's try this again. Flashlight on top of the safe, gun inside the safe. Let's use the flashlight to look at the dial pad. So this is why I'm a huge fan of making sure you know what the heck you're doing with your safe, and finding out what that balance between speed and security is. So yeah, I go through it, you guys. If you get a safe and you're not storing your gun in the open, and I kept my guns stored away, especially when the kids were younger. Now, as they got
Did you mute Candy and Marion?
So I muted myself so it wouldn't be me.
You were
that's-
cursing me out, is what you were doing.
yeah, that does help when people mute when they're not talking. So that's okay. Good. So yeah, again, just make sure that people are finding that balance as new shooters. Do you guys use any of the unique kind of covert things that are hiding stuff in plain sight? You know, some of this furniture and stuff. You guys seen this?
No.
Don't use it, or
I've
no, you
seen
haven't
it.
seen it.
I've seen it, but I would never use that stuff. I'm not going through all that. I'm not even gonna lie.
Really?
My firearms are around my house. They're hanging on magnets on the wall in the position that I need them to be to get that grip and get down to business.
Nice.
Yep.
The only one I've kind of considered is the headboard. Have you guys seen that one with the shotgun? That's
Yeah.
I like that one. It makes me giggle.
Do you realize it'll knock you out before you can pull it out?
I would take my chance. It's just for the sheer joy factor that I did it once or twice and made it work.
If I knew you had that, I would definitely come into your house at night just to hear you scream because it hit you in the forehead.
I scream every time you come in my house.
Well, that's true.
That's awesome. What about
I'm
cars?
so afraid. I'm just so afraid.
What about car storage? How you guys doing it in your car?
You don't. You store it on your body.
What? Are you crazy talk?
I know, right?
You shoot yourself.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
you know, there's a
You
good
hold on to
point. There's a good point there. You know, when I'm concealed carry, I'll leave it on my hip and my belly band or something. But I've always got one in the glove compartment. Like I got a truck gun, I got my Challenger gun, so I've got it on the hip. Because when you're driving and you might need it, it's awkward to pull it off your hip or from a different position. But you know, I got easy access to a glove compartment or one of the things right there, boom. But I've still got one on my hip.
I've thought about it being in my car. I really have, but I just don't feel comfortable about it because usually when I'm in my car, I'm on a mission, I'm going to a class or I've got a meeting or something like that. And I'm just afraid I'm going to hop out that car, leave that gun in there and, you know, Murphy's Law. So I haven't graduated to putting one in the car, but I would love to have one there. I
Yeah,
really would. I just haven't figured out how to make it work.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you, Candy. I don't like to use my car as a safe. There's too many, you know, when I worked, especially downtown Cleveland, I was not comfortable not having my car in line of sight. So if I leave my
Exactly.
gun in my car, I will usually park it somewhere where it's in line of sight. So if I go in some place where I'm not supposed to have my gun and being a good law abiding citizen, if I leave it in the car, I will leave my car within sight distance where I can see the car. And if I had to go out and use my other gun that I probably still had on me. Anyways, yeah.
What did you say? What? Never.
At least not the bulkier one that they can be easily seen. But anyway.
I know, right? It's called concealed carry for a reason.
Yes, it is. That's funny. What about you, Marion? Are you storing? How are you doing the car carry thing?
I usually have one on me, and then I have kind of in my Jeep, a secret compartment that I keep it in.
That folds out a minigun that mounts to the top. Is that what I'm hearing? I can see Marion popping out the top with her sunroof.
I'm falling in love here. Stop it, Marion.
I can see her doing it. That's funny. What about, have you guys flown with your guns?
Yeah,
How was the experience? And how'd you
Not
store
a problem.
not a problem.
Nope. You just do what they ask.
Yep.
Not a problem.
Travis, you flown yet?
No, I will not fly with my weapons. I refuse to. Number one, horror stories, and it's just me. You know, if I can't see it, I just don't trust it with strange people at an airport. That's just me.
No, I totally understandable because I'm pretty sure that mine came out on the tarmac at some point because there was dust all over it one time. I was like, how does my gun go from being in my safe to being completely covered in what looks like stuff from a runway? But you know.
Well, I got a buddy of mine that's in Homeland Security, someone we went to school with, John, and he's told me flat out the horror stories of them busting people internally that have stolen weapons that are being transported for hunting or even personal carry, stuff like that. And he goes, we have a locker filled of unclaimed guns. I'm like, what?
Unclaimed?
He goes, yeah, people never claim their guns. And I'm going, that's awful strange.
Yeah.
What? So they're on a trip. Their gun doesn't show up at the other end, and they don't file a claim on that.
What? Yeah, they haven't claimed it. Yeah, they called one guy because we called one guy because it had been here for a month. And he's like, oh, I wondered where that was. I'm like, wow.
I wondered where that was. What?
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
So anyone who hasn't flown, there are some very specific rules you have to follow when you're flying. Read the TSA rules, and then read the airline rules, because they do not always they're not always the same, even though they probably should be. But
Very true.
the key to that is make sure that you have a hard sided locking case, so that when you show up to the airport, they don't go, "That's a soft case, and sorry, we're denying you." And I always give myself about an extra hour, just because I've had some shenanigans go on with some of those. The other thing is, I will tell people, use your words wisely when you get to the airport.
Oh God, yes.
Oh,
When
yes.
you walk up to the counter, this is not the time to go, "Hey, I got a gun."
Yeah.
Yeah, probably not the best
You
move.
need to tell them, "I have an unloaded firearm I need to declare," because if you start yelling, "I got a gun," good. Here comes the tase. Here comes TSA. Here comes the Cleveland police. You're all screwed. Yeah, that's never fun. So be
Nope.
careful with that. No curbside check on that. You got to take it up to the counter.
You know where that's at, right?
What's that?
The Chardon Post Office?
Yeah.
No kidding. I am there, and I was going to mail a package. This was 4 or 5 months ago. And there's a line behind me, and I was doing it, and the next line opened up. And the real nice lady's like, "Hey, can I help you?" He goes, "Oh, you know what?" He goes, "I probably should go put my gun in my car because I'm not supposed to have it in here." And, okay, my jaw just dropped, and I'm looking at the guy in front of me, and he's looking at me. And I turn and look at this guy, and in my mind, I'm going, "You stupid idiot. Just turn around and leave and put your weapon in your vehicle." Because now everybody's freaking out. You could see the panic in people's eyes. And I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
what a complete tool.
Well-
You shouldn't have your concealed carry.
Yeah.
I mean-
But what'd you say early? Candy, concealed is concealed, and that's a situation. If you realize you got it on, just shut up and go outside.
Yes.
Called concealed for a reason, people.
Oh my God, that's too funny. Oh, I love our
That's
industry.
too stupid. That's not even
Thank
funny.
you.
That's just stupid.
There's no common sense there.
Zippo. So there's quite a bit that people can do research on. I'll put out some links for different options for storage. Yeah, again, like I said, make sure if you're newer to this that you find that balance between speed and security. So pretty important. All right, next fun-filled topic. Let's see, what else did I throw out there? How about a little lever action guns for self-defense? So how about Granddad's 30-30 you found in a closet? Viable self-defense gun?
Yes. Any weapon's a good self-defense weapon. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Ta-da! Agreed.
Yeah,
Better than a pointy stick, huh?
there is no bad firearm for self-defense. And again, it goes to common sense to where, I've got some that I'm not going to pull out and use in self-defense because I don't want to hit the guy in Erie, PA, but, lever actions really are calibers that aren't high powered. They're usually your 44, your 357-38, your 30-30. I mean, these are meant for thuds. They're not meant for distance on
So
a lever.
So what brought this up for me anyways is I was just, reading through articles for the week, and this gentleman used a basically, what is it, Uberti 1866. There was a black bear in his cabin. And as he heard the noise out in the cabin, he comes out and the bear is approximately 3 feet away from him on the couch. Black bear. Oh, so you're talking well over 200 pounds probably. And this guy grabs the old lever action and puts one in the bear. Of course, bear stands up because he probably didn't hit bear where he needed to hit bear. And bear stands up and he hits him like twice more and ends up having to reload and finally finishes the bear. But I thought that was really interesting because not a lot of people probably consider the lever action for self-defense. But listen, if you can kill a brown bear, you can probably take most human beings with that lever action. And Travis, I think you hit on it. The calibers that are available, if you look at 30-30, you're talking about taking deer at 200 yards. A pretty typical shot. So, if I've got to take a shot down my cul-de-sac, I don't know that between hills and trees I'm ever going to clear more than 200 yards. So I was like, very interesting. Ladies, do you own lever guns at all?
Yeah.
I do not.
Do you, Marion, do you go out and play with yours often, or is it more of a, I got this and it kind of sits in the safe?
I have a 22 that I play with.
Those are fun.
Is it a
And
Henry?
I have an Alberti. I believe that's a 45, and I can't
Nice.
remember which model it is, but that's really a nice gun.
Yeah, so
45 or 4570?
It's a 45-70. I'm sorry.
that's funny because the rifle that this guy used for the bear was a 45 Colt. It wasn't even the
Yeah.
45
Oh,
cent.
long Colt, yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
that
this
was
Birdie. I looked at Winchester, and this Birdie was a lot nicer gun.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I've had that a couple years.
is your 22 a Henry?
Yes, my 22 is a Henry.
Gotta love Henry.
Yep.
That's fun. They're beautiful guns. So you very very easily can use just if you got granddad's gun and that's all you have and it's sitting in a closet, very doable for a self-defense gun. I know a lot of people will put scopes on them for hunting and stuff, but I would say if it's the only gun I have and it's a gun I'm going to use for self-defense, I'm probably pulling an optic off of it and I'm going to have kind of an open sight if I need to use it inside the house or something, because they're actually pretty quick, easy to shoot when you pull that thing up and look over the top. If something's close by, it's pretty easy to knock it down. So
Yeah, but at the same time, John, in a self-defense situation, you got to realize the adrenaline that's going to be going, and
Right.
you can control it to a point with breathing training, those type of things, which there's some really good training about that out there. But you've got to remember, most self-defense, you're not going to get the proper grip. You're not going to say, hang on a second, let me get my sight alignment, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
You're not. You're going to fire. You're keeping your eyes on the intruder, but you know where that barrel's at, and you're going to get a shot off. And very rarely are you going to pick it up, aim, go through these things. And the training helps. I agree with the training and stuff, but in a true self-defense, if you've watched these things, no one's doing that, not even police officers. They start out with the proper grip, the proper sight alignment, as they're approaching if they have to draw their weapon. But after that, it's a free-for-all.
Yep. And here's where I see these kind of shining if it's your only gun and you are barricaded in your room because you heard the noise, you heard the bump, and somebody's in your house. And if you don't go looking for them and you barricade and you use either the bed or a dresser to brace, you give me somebody and I only have a half hour to teach them to shoot a rifle accurately, or I have to teach them to shoot a handgun accurately under stress. Give me that rifle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Again, I like these for, I don't want to say an ambush, but, a hardened position where if somebody does breach a door, you're already set and kind of got the gun pointed at the door. It's so much easier to shoot something that's mounted to your shoulder than a handgun. So it's pretty slick. Now, if you're somebody's out, driving around, you're the only option you have, because there are some states where you're only going to get something like these lever action guns. There are a lot of things they've done to these and make them a little more tactical. So there's some pretty slick ones out there. I would say one of the things you need, well, training wise, you better learn to run that lever, because if you don't know how to run that thing, it'll bind up on you and it can get tricky. The other thing I would say is, a lot of these things are only 5 shots. And if you're having to take some longer shots with it because you're out in some place you live, you live in a farm, you're having to take longer shots, something you can reload with. Now, a lot of people will go with the kind of the butt cuff thing down around the stock. I saw one. So when I was teaching, what's that? Yeah, mule leg. Yeah. So when I was teaching for Spars International, one of the guys came up with a reloader that actually strapped on right around the receiver. So you literally were pulling off the receiver and dropping it into the feed gate. Yep. I was like, that's slick.
Yeah.
So some options to think through, again, some more open sights. So yeah, I think especially if you live in those states where you can't own a assault rifle or whatever the term they use, I think they're very viable. And again, Travis, I think you hit on it, the different rounds that they use, the different calibers. You hit somebody with a 357 out of a longer barrel, or 38, or a 45 Colt, or a 45-70. That's a bowling ball.
Oh, yeah.
Some of these things are in like 454 Casuls and stuff. So that's a heck of a round to start punching holes. And of course, you're getting the higher velocity because you got the longer barrel. So that's, yeah.
Well, you shot my 454 Casul Alaskan, the 454 Alaskan.
Yeah. The 45-70 was even more in a pistol. That's insane.
Oh yeah, but you start talking 454 Casul. The whole reason I got the Alaskan is because I just love the gun. But I'm not going to pull that out and
use it for self-defense. Number one, I'm going deaf. Number two, the first pull, I better hit him with the first pull, because after that, the shot going through your arms and leg, or wrists and stuff like that. But at the same time, with a rifle and a lever action, what people need to watch out for, which we didn't touch on, is they are a ranged weapon. From a pistol, they're a ranged weapon.
Right.
And a lot of people are like, well, I want to be able to reach out and touch someone. I said, well, then you want to go to jail. Well, what do you mean? If you're shooting someone with a rifle because you want to reach out and touch them, they are retreating. They are not a threat. You are going to jail. People need to understand that with an AR, with a shotgun, rifle, whatever, even a pistol. You have to know when to stop, when it's no longer a threat, and when Bubba's not going to be your cellmate.
Yeah. So this is going to totally side jump off of this topic, but I was watching video of the Kenosha stuff.
Oh my God.
Just kicked off. Did you see them confronting the APC, the armed carrier?
Yes.
So these guys are armed with rifles and they're confronting a police vehicle. So if I'm caught up in that as I'm driving through city, there might be a place where I might, grab the rifle out of the trunk and start carrying it in the front seat, because if I'm dealing with a bunch of people who are willing to confront a police department, then my pistol versus their rifle might not be the best thing. That's just me.
But I got some pistols that will.
Well, yes, you do. Yes, you do. But, again, if I'm
it's because Travis is all special like that. So.
He is special like that, isn't he?
Hey, if you want to pull an APC up to my house, please feel free, because I got rounds that'll go right through it.
Yeah, so I baffled by that, watching that video. Here they are, they're throwing tear gas out of the top of the thing, and as they pull away, they're actually getting shot at. I'm like, what in the hell what did I witness? That is insane. But that's the reality we're in right now. Anyway, side note on the long rifle and why I might use a long rifle for self-defense. But anyways, let's see. Ladies, did you happen to see that video?
No.
If you get bored, look it up. It's literally they confronted and stopped the APC right in the middle of the road. And the cops were being cool about it, not running anybody over because they're better human beings than I am. But this guy steps to the side and he's got a rifle pointed at it. And then they launch some tear gas and he takes shots at him as they're driving away. I'm like, what craziness? Anyways, look up the video. It's fun. So, all right, another topic, the tape loop. So, are you guys familiar with John Farnham at all?
No.
Yeah.
Nope.
So John,
I've heard of him.
Yeah, John's one of those old school guys, and he was one of the first people I ever heard talk about it, but he even admits that he stole it from someone else. And I think Masad Ayub talks about it a little bit, but are you guys familiar with the tape loop concept if you haven't seen John?
Yes. I've heard of it before.
I don't think I have.
So the tape loop, the thought behind the tape loop is this can be used a couple different ways. One is if you were confronted by somebody, even something as simple as, hey, what time is it? Or, hey, you got to smoke. This is one of those things, if you watch most of these self-defense incidents, the bad guy using that is actually distracting you, right? So they're looking for a way to distract you. Hey, you got a light, you reach in your pockets, bam, you get punched in the face. So some of these guys are, some of these instructors are advocating for a tape loop. What they mean by that is if you're confronted by somebody or somebody approaches you and they're kind of up in your personal space, have something in your head that you are going to rehearse and use over and over again. So I've used this before at rest stops. Somebody walks up and go, hey, you got time? Sorry, I can't help you. That's literally my answer to everything now. If somebody approaches me out in public and I'm not real comfortable with the area I'm in, I'm at a rest stop, I'm, walking someplace and I'm like, hey, just don't have time. Sorry, I can't help you. And just keep going. And I've had people look at me like, what is wrong with you? I'm pretty sure one of the ones at the rest stop, somebody was probably, I'll call it, doing the interview. So anybody using this? Does anybody have a tape loop that they were already got in their noggin?
Actually, yeah, I have it because I got that from a few trainings that I've taken, especially as a woman. I've been trained that I don't have to be nice. I don't have to answer you. I don't have to give you anything. I owe you nothing.
That is beautiful.
And when I tell you I don't have something, don't keep asking me. I said I don't have it. Now back off.
So that reminds me, Katie, what was the you used a term once when you were in one of these training classes that scared the crap out of everyone. Do you remember what the phrase you used was?
Oh my gosh, what did I say? Um,
I still laugh about that story. That made me giggle so hard.
you caught me on the spot.
Yeah, I don't remember what the phrase was, but I just remember everyone being horrified.
I know, because I turned around and I yelled it at the top of my voice, and it just scared them half to death because they're like, "Wow, no, wait, what?"
Yeah. And I think the great point there is, I don't know that it has to be anything fancy. You scream loud and scream right at them, and that's enough to throw people off, because most people aren't expecting you to react that way. They're expecting you to cower.
Right.
And that attitude is perfect. I think every young lady should have that attitude, because I think women are taught to comply. They're taught to be nice. They're taught to be maternal. I think we're doing our daughters and wives a total disservice in that situation.
Yes, we are. Absolutely. And the thing that I yelled was something along the lines of, "Back off, I'm armed." And they were just like, and I yelled it at them because I'd already told them, "Leave me alone." And I just yelled at the top of my lungs, "Back off, I'm armed." And my hand was already on my gun. It was a blue, one of the blue training pistols, but my hand was already on the butt of my gun. It's like, no, I'm not playing games here.
I love it. I love it. Marion, have you been in any of the trainings that teach that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I have a couple. Basically, get your phrase, what you're gonna say.
Did they teach a particular loop, or do you have to make up your own and kind of work with it?
We had to make up our own, which I can't remember what mine was.
Listen, you've got that minigun in your Jeep. That's all you need.
I have to move to a rifle.
Yeah, outstanding. I love it. So the other place I see this being taught is when you interact with the police. So if the police show up on a scene where you've defended yourself, you probably want to have some things already in your head and rehearsed, so that when they get there and you're under stress, the adrenaline's flowing, you don't say something so dumb. It's kind of like, "Woo, look at me," high five the cops and be like, "Look what I did. I got the bad guy." Oops.
Yeah, probably not a good idea.
Yeah, I know.
No selfies.
Say as little as possible.
Yeah.
I have a good law enforcement buddy of mine. We were talking about that exact same thing. And, I had asked him, I said, "Hey, I carry." He said, "Of course." I said, "If I had to use it and you had to respond, what do I need to do?" And he said, "Here's the advice I'm going to give you as a friend." He goes, "If you've used your weapon, whether you've hit someone or not, and we have to respond, stop, make sure your weapon is down, put your hands up, say, 'I feared for my personal safety and my life. I'd like to speak to an attorney.'" He goes, "Those are the only words that should come out of your mouth."
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. I
Yep.
like it, because I think you hear that a lot from some of the guys who are kind of the people you turn to when you're doing reading and stuff about this subject. But yeah, I think that's perfect. And there's a difference between being confrontational when you use those type of phrases versus being cooperative, or what seems like cooperative. Because I truly believe that if you are a turd when they come on the scene, you're like, "I'm not talking to you, I need my attorney."
Yeah.
They get to write the report. And their report is seemed guilty, shot somebody. And whereas if you use officer, I was in fear for my life, just like Travis said, there's some shell casings, there's some people over there who saw what happened. I understand you have a job to do, but I'm not comfortable speaking to you till I talk to my attorney. There's a difference there, because some people for a while were teaching, shut up, don't say anything. Talk about looking guilty.
Yeah.
That's a rough one. There was that guy, it probably goes back 5 or 6 years, where he kind of clammed up like that, and his case went ugly for a long time, and it took them forever to get him out of that. And I had to go back and look that up. It was a pretty famous case, and I'm blanking on who it was at this point. But yeah, that's so tape loops work in two situations like that. Not bad to have, because again, under stress in either situation, you don't want to have to be overthinking it. And when you talk to people who've been in stressful situations, even if bad guys approach you, sometimes their language will come out garbled because they're trying to think about what they're about to do. and they just garble it. Hey, you got what did you say? And that's a good sign that you need to use your tape loop back at that point. If somebody stumbles on you and they're zoned in on you and they're garbling their words, probably attack coming. So that's where your tape loop back is. Sorry, can't help you. Gotta go. Or hey, I'm armed. Leave me alone. Seems to work for. So yeah, good. So any other suggestions on loops that might work? Especially
Anything. You should have a loop for any type of situation like that. You know, a loop for what are you doing if these guys are walking up behind you? You know, a loop for this, a loop for that, just so you're not, because we as women, we tend to want to negotiate and explain and get all this other stuff. And that was another reason why what I did at that class was so shocking, was because it was short, sweet, loud, and to the point. And typically we women aren't like that. And that's something we have to practice doing.
So you kind of brought up another point there, Candy, I think, especially for females. So I was teaching a self-defense class, kind of a hand-to-hand thing for some people. And I was originally using, I'm sorry, I can't help you. And the one lady piped up. She goes, no. I was like,
You never say you're sorry.
That's what she said. I'm tired of saying I'm sorry. I don't have to say I'm sorry. I was like,
I'm not sorry for anything. You're the one messing with me.
Bingo.
You are about to be very sorry.
Bingo. And I think just, again, growing up, I try to be a nice human being. And I'm like, sorry, I can't help you. Whereas I completely changed what I teach and how I use it is, I can't help you. And just keep going. Yeah. And just, it's, time to get your own watch. Things like that. So yeah, I think we have to be a little more assertive with some of those things. And again, we all grew up as nice people and trying to be helpful, but there's just time and places where, especially if you're, again, someplace where you're not familiar with and somebody approaches you out of the blue and they're up in your space. I mean, there's whole classes around this stuff and personal safety. So I'll throw some links into the show notes and stuff, and people can take that. So, all right, guys, anything else we need to talk about this week?
One of the things I want to stress, which I try to stress every week, is every conversation we had, whether it's you, Marion, Candy, me, there's one common word that people need to understand, and that's training.
Oh, yes.
And I can't stress that enough. And so many people think that they go to a shooting class or get their concealed carry. I'm trained. No, you're not.
Yeah.
No, you're not. Yeah, there's so much more to what's taught. I mean, John teaches a fantastic concealed carry class. I took it 3 times. But
it must not have been that good.
Yeah, but I left there with information that I didn't know, and I'm a seasoned shooter. I'm 53 years old. I've had guns, for a long time, but I learned things there, and I've been to other training environments, helping some friends. I've been to John's, just listening and kind of helping out there a little bit, but in other situations, and there's so much to learn. We're going to learn the rest of our lives, and anybody that says, I've learned everything is a fool.
Right. I agree 100%.
And there's how many people were you hearing about? Marion, what was the stat you threw out at us a couple months ago? How many new guns were out there? Holy cow.
I think I saw a stat today from the NSSF, what is it?
Yeah.
The outdoor, group.
Yeah.
I think it said like 5 million new gun owners.
Wow.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
And like, whoa.
And talk about probably very little training going on.
No wonder we can't
except
find
in Detroit. Yeah. I literally went out and bought a reloader this week.
That's a question I want to ask everybody. How many people have contacted you saying, hey, do you have any spare 9 or 45 or 223 or 5.56?
Yep.
Man, I've been hit up probably 25 times. I had someone argue with me. Come on, man, you got to have a lot of ammo. I said, I don't have a lot of ammo, which I do. But I'm like, I've got sustained. You should have been prepared. Quit calling me to solve your problem.
Right.
Time like this, ammo is coin. Ammo is money.
Darn tootin'. And I find it tends to be people who were not politically aligned with us a couple months ago.
Uh-huh.
And now they're our best friends.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was
Yep.
like, nope, I'll trade you for a vote. Oh, maybe that's illegal. Never mind.
But they're seeing less shooters out there too because of the lack of ammo, because people don't want to go out and expend ammo, whether it's ball, range, whatever. Ammo is ammo. Where we used to go, oh, it's just range ammo. We'll blast through 12 boxes. Now, that range ammo could very much be the one that saves your life.
Yeah, and
Right.
they're not practicing. Like you said, because they can't find the ammo. I
And
literally
a lot
heard a
of,
story the other day.
a lot of people are going out and buying 22s. They didn't have a 22 gun before. They're buying one of those to train with because the 22 ammo is a little easier to get.
Yep.
Yeah, I was
I
just
went and
looking.
bought a Glock 44.
Yeah, I was looking at Travis when I was in Atwell's the other day. They got the Glock 19 conversions for the 22, and I almost bought
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. I
I was
bought the 44. It's sweet. It's a
But-
fun gun.
The good thing is, for me, for a gun owner like me, the off calibers are easier to find for me now, where
Yeah.
I can walk in. I'm finding 460, 50 Beowulf, 338 Lapua, things like that, where I can buy
Right.
that stuff now, and they want to get it off their shelf to get in the common calibers.
Right.
I heard a story actually with Rob and Amanda. They had a student who was in the store, and there was ammo on the shelf, and it might have been 380. They're like, "Hey, do you have a gun that matches this?" And that's how they bought the gun, because that's what the ammo was in the store.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Wow,
Yep.
that's crazy. That is
Yep.
crazy. All right, guys, that's I think that's about a wrap for this week. Thank you so much. Anything else that's on people's minds?
No, I
sir.
missed everybody last week.
I know I was kind of sad. I loved helping Rob and Amanda, but I miss you guys every week. It's
Oh,
it's
no.
it's tough. It's tough. So
It's
Our
great.
little delicate flower.
I do
It's
enjoy
great to
this.
talk to everybody.
Yeah, I do enjoy this every week. Thank you guys so much.
Yep.
All right,
Thank you.
guys. We'll have a beautiful week. God bless everyone, and thanks for tuning in to Protect You Radio. Have a great week.